Eugene Gene Brudigan was born in Wayne and grew up in Winside, where during his early years he worked on the family farm. In 1964, he and his wife Shirley moved to Hoskins, where they opened a family business, Hoskins Motor, which they owned and operated for over 50 years. Brudigan was known by his loyal fans as Cowboy, always had a love of cars and speed, and began his racing career in the late 1950s when he helped a friend, Marvin Herschied, build a race car which was raced at a number of dirt tracks in Northeast Nebraska. In 1957, Brudigan assumed driving duties in the car when he strapped himself in as a driver for the first time at King's Speedway in Norfolk. After wheeling Herschied's race car for a few years, Brudigan assembled his own dirt track machine, an open-wheeled modified which he raced in the Norfolk area as well as at Columbus, Clearwater, Albion, and Doniphan. When the Haase family opened Riviera Raceway in Norfolk in 1965, Brudigan quickly established himself as the dominant driver at the new 0.3 facility, winning the first 3 track championships there in 1965, 1966, and 1967. In 1968, Brudigan won the track title at Boone County Raceway in Albion. In 1974, Brudigan secured the biggest payday of his career to date, when he outraced a strong contingent of drivers to capture the prestigious Contois Classic at Riviera Raceway. During those early years, Brudigan raced against a strong field of talented open-wheel pilots, including Kim Lingenfelter, Jerry Sir, Don Wyrick, and fellow Hoskins driver Gerald Brueggemann. Brudigan consistently finished in the top 5 at tracks in Northeast Nebraska and was always considered a threat to win in his familiar black number 95. In the later 1970s, as open-wheel rules began to evolve and change, Brudigan began racing at the competitive Mid-Continent Raceway near Doniphan, and later took his talents to tracks in Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota. Brudigan raced his sprint car at both Rock Rapids and Spencer, Iowa, Jackson, Minnesota, and at Houston Speedway in Brandon, South Dakota, as well as Hartford, Huron, and Yankton, and at the Sioux Empire Fairgrounds in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He also competed at special events in Kansas and Oklahoma. At Huset's, at the time one of the most competitive and prestigious sprint car venues in the country, Brudigan became a fan favorite and won the mid-season championship there in 1976. He finished 4th in points at Huset's in 1978, 5th in 1980, and also finished in the top 10 in 1981. He received the Attendance Award at Huset's, a 2.5-hour drive from Hoskins, in 1986. In the early 1980s, Brudigan tried his hand for a short period of time in a dirt late model before purchasing his last sprint car in 1986. That car was later sold back to its previous owners, Kim and Deb Lingenfelter. After more than a dozen years outside of the cockpit, Brudigan drove a sprint car for the final time in 2000 at Riviera Raceway before hanging up his fire suit and helmet for good. To Brudigan, racing was a family affair. His wife Shirley and their 5 children, along with a son-in-law and his brother Harold, were all involved in his multi-state racing endeavors. Following his retirement as a driver, Brudigan remained attached to the sport he loved by assisting numerous younger drivers and also attending races as much as possible. He was a frequent attendee at the prestigious Knoxville Nationals in Iowa. With his longtime sponsor, Norfolk Beverage, Brudigan's Budweiser number 95 open-wheeled modifieds and sprint cars were always among the best appearing and fastest machines on the track. During his over 30-year racing career, he successfully raced not only modifieds, sprint cars, and late models, but also go-karts and even snowmobiles. Brudigan passed away in 2018 and was posthumously inducted into the Houston Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019.